Dadperfectrevenge. I stood in my son's childhood bedroom, holding evidence that would send him to prison. My hands shook as I looked at the bank statements showing $285,000 gone. Carl was my only child, all I had left after my wife Diane died 6 years ago, and he'd been systematically robbing me while planning my murder. Let me back up. My name is Howard Mitchell. I'm 58 years old, been working as an insurance claims adjuster in Portland for 28 years. After Diane passed from breast cancer, I threw myself into work. 70-hour weeks, anything to avoid coming home to an empty house. Carl was 22 then, fresh out of college. We grieved together, or so I thought. I believed we'd become closer. I was wrong. It started 3 weeks ago on a Tuesday morning. Carl had stopped by for breakfast, something he did maybe once a month. We were sitting at the kitchen table when his phone rang. "Grandma Ruth?" Carl's face went pale. "What? When did this start?" I set down my coffee. Ruth was Diane's mother, 78 years old, living in Salem with her husband Vernon. Okay, I'm coming right now." Carl hung up and looked at me. "Dad, Grandpa Vernon has a 103-degree fever. Grandma's having severe chest pains. She can barely breathe." My stomach dropped. "I'll come with you. Let me grab my keys." "No, Dad, you've got that meeting with Tech Vista at 11. That's a huge account. I'll drive down, make sure they're okay, maybe take them to the hospital if needed." I hesitated. The Tech Vista meeting was important, but this was family. Still, Carl was right. He could handle it. "You're sure? Dad, I've got this. You taught me to step up when family needs us, remember?" He grabbed his jacket. "I'll call you as soon as I get there." I watched him drive away in that Audi Q5 he'd been leasing. Said it was a company car from the real estate startup where he worked. I felt proud. My son was responsible, caring, exactly the man his mother and I had raised him to be. But something gnawed at me. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the way Carl had grabbed his keys a little too quickly. I couldn't shake it. By 10:30, I'd made a decision. I called my assistant, told her to reschedule Tech Vista. Family came first. I stopped at a florist, bought white lilies for Ruth, then hit a pharmacy for fever reducers and pain medication. The drive to Salem took 45 minutes. Rain started halfway there, that constant Portland drizzle that never quite stops. I kept thinking about Vernon and Ruth. They'd been so good to me after Diane died. Ruth made Diane's apple pie recipe for me every Thanksgiving because she knew I missed it. Vernon called me son. When I pulled onto Sycamore Street, I slowed down. Their house was number 847, cream-colored siding with dark green shutters. Vernon's truck sat in the driveway, and the front gate was wide open. That stopped me cold. Vernon was obsessive about that gate, kept it latched 24/7 ever since a neighbor's dog dug up Ruth's rose bushes 15 years ago. But today it stood open, swinging slightly in the breeze. I parked down the street under an oak tree, grabbed the flowers and medicine bag. As I walked toward the house, I heard something that made my blood run cold. A television. Game show audience laughter. Applause. Sick people don't watch game shows. People with 103-degree fevers don't sit around watching TV. They're in bed, maybe at the emergency room. The front door was unlocked. I pushed it open quietly, stepped inside. Everything looked normal. Ruth's ceramic figurines lined the hallway shelf. Vernon's jacket on the coat rack. The smell of vanilla candles. I set down the flowers and medicine, moved toward the living room. The TV was loud now. I could hear the host announcing prizes. My heart hammered as I approached the doorway. Each step felt dangerous. I pressed myself against the wall, looked around the frame. Ruth sat on the sofa, with a plate of cookies on her lap, watching the screen. And laughing. She wore her purple cardigan, the one she always wore when she was comfortable. No chest pains, no difficulty breathing. She reached for another cookie, took a bite, completely relaxed. Vernon was in his recliner, with the morning newspaper spread across his lap, reading glasses perched on his nose. No fever, no illness. He chuckled at something on TV, then went back to his paper. Both of them were perfectly, completely healthy. My legs almost gave out. The room tilted. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. Carl had lied to me. There was no emergency, no sick grandparents, no crisis that required him to rush down here. So, why was he here? Then I heard voices from deeper in the house, from the kitchen. Male voices, talking low but urgent. It needs to move faster. That was Carl's voice. We can't keep waiting. Another voice, unfamiliar, younger, confident. I know, but we have to be careful. If he finds out before we're ready, he won't. Carl's tone was certain. Dad trusts me completely. He always has. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, started the recording app. My fingers fumbled. The icon seemed impossibly small. Finally, the red dot appeared. Recording. I moved closer to the kitchen doorway, pressed myself against the wall where they couldn't see me. Did you transfer the money this week? Carl asked. Done this morning. $2,000, like always. The other voice. Your dad never checks the statements anyway. $2,000 every week. For how long? What's the total now from the transfers? Carl asked. $156,000. 78 weeks straight. My vision blurred. $156,000. I kept recording, barely breathing. Are you sure he won't notice? The other man sounded worried. Carl actually laughed. Dad's an insurance adjuster, but he's so busy with claims that he never looks at his own accounts. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. Funny, he thought destroying me was funny. Sometimes I still feel guilty, the other man said. Don't. Carl's voice turned cold. He ignored Mom when she was dying, worked 70-hour weeks while she was going through chemo. I was there. He wasn't. We deserve this. The words hit like physical blows. I thought about every hour I'd worked after Diane's diagnosis, believing I was being strong, providing for treatments, keeping our insurance active. I'd been at the hospital every night after work, held her hand through every treatment, was there when she took her last breath. But in Carl's mind, I'd failed, and that justified stealing from me. What about the other money? The unfamiliar voice asked. The mortgage was $80,000, fake investment another $40,000, plus about $9,000 in smaller transfers over the past year. I did the math, even though my brain was screaming. $156,000 plus $80,000 plus $40,000 plus $9,000. Total $285,000. And the insurance policy, the other man asked, changed it 4 months ago. If something happens to Dad, I get $850,000 immediately. No waiting period, no installments. If something happens to Dad, not when, if. My hand gripped the phone tighter. I kept recording. 5 full minutes of my son casually discussing how he'd robbed me blind and altered my life insurance. Then I heard footsteps. They were moving. I backed away from the kitchen, silent as death, grabbed the flowers and medicine from the entry table, slipped out the front door. By the time I reached my car, my whole body was shaking. Rain hammered on the roof. I sat there, staring at nothing, then played back the recording. Carl's voice, clear as day, admitting everything. I drove home in a daze, went straight to my office, locked the door, and pulled up our bank accounts. Set the date range to 18 months back, clicked search. There it was. Every single week like clockwork. Electronic transfer, $2,000, Tuesday one week, Thursday the next, but always there. Week after week after week. 78 transfers, $2,000 times. 78 equals $156,000. Destination, offshore account, Cayman Islands. I'd never authorized any account in the Cayman Islands. I scrolled deeper, found the larger transfers. A $40,000 withdrawal 8 months ago. Memo line saying Carl's business investment. A $80,000 mortgage taken out 3 months ago on my paid-off condo. Another $9,000 scattered in various amounts. Total, $285,000. Exactly what Carl had said. I stood up, walked to the window. Outside, a neighbor walked a dog. Cars drove by. Normal Tuesday afternoon. But my world had just ended. I pulled up my phone, found the name I needed. Gerald Foster, college roommate, now one of Portland's top family law attorneys. Howard, long time. What's going on? Gerald, I need help. It's urgent. Everything in my tone changed his demeanor instantly. Come to my office right now. 30 minutes. I'll be waiting. I grabbed my laptop and the printed bank statements. 30 minutes later, I sat across from Gerald in his downtown office, 20th floor with a view of the city. I played him the recording, showed him the bank statements. When it finished, Gerald's face was stone. Howard, this isn't just theft. This is fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Your son committed serious crimes. There's more. I showed him the photos I'd taken at Vernon and Ruth's house. Carl and another man, mid-30s, athletic build, sitting close together in the background like conspirators. I need to know who this is. Gerald nodded. I'm recommending we hire Dorothy Klein, best private investigator in Portland. She'll find out everything. Whatever it takes. Here's what we're going to do. You don't confront Carl, not yet. We build an ironclad case first. Financial records, surveillance, evidence of every transaction. If you confront him now, he'll destroy evidence. We'll lose our advantage. So, I just pretend? Act like everything's normal? Exactly. Gerald's eyes met mine. I know it's hard, but we strike when we're ready, not before. That night, Carl came over. He still had a key to my house. Walked in around 8 o'clock. Hey, Dad, how'd the Tech Vista meeting go? I looked at my son. His face showed concern, warmth, love. The same face that had smiled at me that morning while planning to rob me. Had to reschedule. Family emergency seemed more important. How are Grandpa Vernon and Grandma Ruth? Much better. False alarm mostly. Grandpa's fever broke around noon. Grandma's chest pains were just anxiety. The lies came so easily. They send their love. That's good to hear. I forced a smile that felt like broken glass in my mouth. You hungry? I could order pizza, sure. Pepperoni, your favorite. We sat at the kitchen table eating pizza like a normal father and son. Carl talked about work, some marketing campaign his real estate company was launching. I nodded, asked questions, played the role of interested dad. Inside, I was dying. The next morning, I met with Dorothy Klein in her office on the east side. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, the kind of presence that made you feel like she saw everything you were trying to hide. Tell me everything, she said. I showed her the photos, the recording, everything. She studied each piece carefully. I'll find out who he is, where he goes, what his connection to your son really is. You'll have answers within a week. I need everything. No matter how much it hurts. Over the next week, I became an actor in my own life. Every smile was rehearsed. Every I love you tasted like ash. Dorothy worked fast. By day 5, she called with information that made my blood run cold. Howard, I've identified him. Leonard Hayes, 35 years old, massage therapist. Lives in a luxury apartment in the Pearl District that costs $3,200 a month. His salary can't cover that. What else? He meets with Carl 4 to 5 times a week. Coffee shops, his apartment, restaurants. They're clearly working together on something. Keep digging. She did. By day 10, Dorothy called again. Howard, Leonard is married. 7 years. Wife's name is Barbara Hayes, dental hygienist. They have a 5-year-old son named Tyler. They live in Vancouver, Washington. I felt sick. Carl knows about this? I don't think so. From what I've observed, Leonard's been playing Carl, making him think they're partners, maybe something more. But Leonard has a whole other life, so my son was being used, just like he was using me. Stanley Grant, my accountant for 12 years, delivered his analysis on day 12. We sat in my home office going through documents. Howard, someone took out an $80,000 mortgage on your condo 3 months ago. The signature is supposed to be yours. He showed me the document, but look at the handwriting. I looked. It was close to mine, but not quite right. The loops were too big, the slant slightly off. That's not my signature. I know. It's forged. The money went to an offshore account. Stanley pulled out another document. And your life insurance policy. 4 months ago, the payout structure was changed. If you die, Carl gets $850,000 immediately instead of over time. That requires your signature on a change form. He showed me the form. Another forgery. Someone's planning for you to die, Howard. The words hung in the air like poison. On day 17, they tried to kill me. I was driving home from work on Interstate 5. Rush hour traffic, cars packed tight. The vehicle ahead of me stopped suddenly. I pressed the brake pedal. Nothing happened. The pedal went straight to the floor. No resistance, no slowing. My car kept rolling forward, momentum carrying me toward the stopped vehicles. I pumped the brake. Nothing. Pressed harder. The pedal hit the floor with each push, useless. Ahead of me, cars. Behind me, more cars approaching fast. To my left, a semi-truck barreling down at 70 miles per hour. I yanked the wheel hard right. The car slid across lanes. Tires screamed against asphalt. A horn blared, long and angry. The truck missed me by inches. I felt the air displacement as it roared past, so close I could read the license plate. More horns, shouting, my car skidding sideways across 2 lanes. I grabbed the emergency brake, pulled hard. The car shuddered, fishtailed violently, but finally began to slow. I fought for control, guided it toward the shoulder. Gravel crunched under tires. The car lurched, bounced, and came to a stop. I sat there, hands locked on the wheel. My heart hammered so hard, I thought my ribs would crack. Vision blurred at the edges. I couldn't breathe right. A man knocked on my window. "Sir, you okay?" That was close. I nodded, couldn't speak. Rolled down the window. "You all right? Want me to call someone?" "I've got it. Thank you." The tow truck came. They took my car to a nearby repair shop. I sat in the waiting room drinking terrible coffee, hands still shaking. 20 minutes later, the mechanic emerged. His face was grim. "Mr. Mitchell, your brake lines were cut. Deliberately." He showed me photos on his phone. "These are clean cuts, not wear and tear. Someone wanted your brakes to fail." I stared at the images, precise slices through the brake lines. Intentional, calculated. "This is sabotage, sir. You need to report this to police." I called from the shop. An officer arrived within the hour, took my statement, photographed the brake lines, filed a report. "Do you have any idea who might have done this?" he asked, pen poised over his notepad. I thought about Carl, about the life insurance policy, about Leonard Hayes. "No," I lied, "no idea." "Any security cameras at your home?" "No, be careful, Mr. Mitchell. Whoever did this meant for you to have an accident." When I got home that night, Carl was there waiting. "Dad, I heard about the car." He rushed over, hugged me tight. "Are you okay?" I stood rigid, studying his face over his shoulder. Was that genuine concern? Or disappointment that I'd survived? "I'm fine, just shaken up. You could have died." His eyes looked worried, wet with tears. "I know, son. But inside I was thinking, you wanted me to die. You cut my brakes." I called Dorothy that night. "We need to move faster. Someone tried to kill me today. I'm arranging 24-hour protection. Guy named Derek, ex-military. He'll pose as your new neighbor, watch your house constantly. Thank you. Howard, be careful. Don't let Carl know you suspect anything." 3 days later, they tried again. I woke up at 3 in the morning with a splitting headache. The room spun like I was drunk. Something smelled wrong. Chemical. Faint, but wrong. Gas. I stumbled out of bed, dizzy, disoriented. Made it to the hallway. The smell was stronger there, seeping up from downstairs. I fumbled for my phone, fingers clumsy and thick. Called 911. My house? Gas smell? Can't breathe right. "Sir, get outside now. We're sending emergency services." I made it to the front door, out onto the lawn. The cool night air hit my face. I collapsed, on the grass gasping. The fire trucks arrived within 10 minutes, red lights flashing, men in protective gear entering my house. The fire captain found me sitting on the curb 15 minutes later. "Mr. Mitchell, someone tampered with your gas line in the basement." He showed me photos on a tablet. They disabled your carbon monoxide detector first, then loosened the gas line connection. Another 20 minutes, you'd have been dead from CO poisoning. Who could do this? Someone with access to your house. Someone with a key. Carl had a key. By day 27, we were ready. I planned a Sunday dinner, called Carl, told him I wanted to discuss my estate planning, maybe introduce him to my attorney. He sounded nervous, but agreed. I also called Vernon and Ruth, told them I wanted a family dinner. They were confused but happy to come. And Dorothy delivered a very specific invitation to Leonard Hayes. Important meeting regarding Carl Mitchell and financial matters. Your presence required. Sunday evening at 7, my dining room filled up. Carl arrived first, dressed nicely, clearly trying to make a good impression. Vernon and Ruth came next, delighted to see their grandson. Then Leonard showed up, that confident smile in place. We sat down to roast chicken, potatoes, vegetables. Everything looked perfect. Candles on the table, nice tablecloth. Normal family dinner. Halfway through, I set down my fork. The sound of metal on china rang clear in the quiet. Before we continue, there's something we need to discuss. Carl looked up, confused. Dad, what's going on? I pulled out a folder from beside my chair, opened it, spread bank statements across the table. We need to talk about the $285,000 that's been stolen from me. Silence. Vernon's fork clattered onto his plate. Ruth's hand flew to her mouth. Carl's face drained of all color. Dad, don't lie anymore, Carl. Not now. I pointed to the highlighted. Transactions. $2,000 every week for 78 weeks. That's $156,000. Plus an $80,000 mortgage I never authorized. Plus $40,000 for your fake business investment. Plus another $9,000 in smaller amounts. Total, $285,000. I pulled out my phone. Let me play something for everyone. I pressed play. Carl's voice filled the room. Did you transfer the money this week? Leonard's voice. Done this morning. $2,000, like always. Your dad never checks statements. Carl, what's the total now from the transfers? Leonard, $156,000, 78 weeks straight. The recording continued for 2 full minutes, every word clear, every admission damning. When it ended, Vernon turned to Carl with fury in his old eyes. Boy, how could you? Your father gave you everything. Ruth was crying, shaking her head. But that's not all. I pulled out more documents. Someone forged my signature to mortgage my house for $80,000. Someone changed my life insurance so Carl would get $850,000 immediately if I died. I looked directly at Carl. And someone cut my brake lines 3 weeks ago. Someone tampered with my gas line 10 days ago. Both times, I almost died. I slid the mechanic's report and fire department analysis across the table. Carl's face was white as paper. Dad, I didn't mean... Yes, you did. My voice was ice. You tried to murder me for money. I was desperate. Carl's voice cracked. Milton Bradford scammed me out of $92,000. I lost everything. I needed help, and you were never there. You worked all the time when Mom was dying. I was there every night. I slammed my hand on the table. Every single night at that hospital. Every treatment. I held her hand when she died. But you've rewritten history to justify stealing from me, to justify trying to kill me. Vernon stood slowly, his voice strong despite his age. Your mother would be ashamed of you, Carl. Deeply ashamed. Leonard stood suddenly. This is ridiculous. I'm leaving. Sit down, Leonard. I'm not finished. At that moment, the front door opened. A woman walked in holding a small boy's hand. She wore scrubs, her face exhausted. Leonard's face went dead white. Leonard, the woman looked confused. You said this was a work dinner with a client. Who are these people? Everyone, I said calmly. This is Barbara Hayes, Leonard's wife. And this is Tyler, their 5-year-old son. Carl's head whipped toward Leonard. What? You said you were single. You said we were partners. Leonard has been married for 7 years, I continued. Living in Vancouver, Washington. All that money you stole from me, Carl? It's been funding Leonard's family, his son's preschool, his wife's car. While he played you? Barbara's voice shook. Leonard, what is he talking about? What money? Before anyone could answer, the front door opened again. Detective Helen Torres walked in with 2 uniformed officers. Carl Mitchell and Leonard Hayes. You're both under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and conspiracy to cause harm. The officers moved forward. Reading rights. Carl started crying as they handcuffed him. Dad, please, I'm your son. Your only son. Mom would want you to forgive me. I stood up, looked him in the eye. Your mother would be heartbroken. I'm heartbroken. But you tried to kill me twice. Because you wanted my money. Grandpa, Carl turned to Vernon, desperate. Tell him to stop this. Vernon's voice was steel. Your mother would be ashamed, boy. I'm ashamed. Carl collapsed, sobbing, as they led him away. Leonard went quietly. All his charm evaporated. The trial happened 6 weeks later. The evidence was overwhelming. Carl got 6 years. Leonard got 10. I sold the house. Started therapy with Dr. Margaret Russell twice a week. Where did I fail? I asked her in month 3. You didn't fail, Howard. Carl made choices. His choices. Carl writes me every month from prison. I keep the letters in a shoebox, haven't read one. But 11 months after sentencing, I visited him, sat across from him at the glass. Partition. Dad, thank you for coming. I came to say goodbye, Carl. I forgive you. But I can't have you in my life. I understand. Tell Grandpa Vernon and Grandma Ruth I love them. Earn that right. Become the man your mother believed you were. I hung up the phone, walked away, didn't look back. Now I teach at Portland Community College twice a week. Protecting your legacy. Family fraud prevention. I share my story. Tell them how my son stole from me and tried to kill me. Check your accounts, I tell them, even if it's family, especially if it's family. This morning, I stood at Diane's grave, placed white lilies on her headstone. I'm sorry I couldn't protect him from himself, but I'm still standing. I walked to my car. My phone buzzed. Text from the college. Mr. Mitchell, we need a third class. 60 people on the waiting list. I smiled. Not a big smile, just something small. Maybe this was my legacy now, not money left to a son who betrayed me, but wisdom shared with fathers who still had time. My name is Howard Mitchell. I'm 58 years old. My son tried to kill me, but I survived. And if you're going through something similar, you can survive too. I learned the hard way that love without boundaries is just permission to be destroyed. Trust your family? Yes. But verify everything. Check those bank statements. Ask questions. Protect yourself before you need protection, because by the time you need it, it's already too late. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean reconciliation. It means refusing to let their betrayal poison the rest of your life. I forgave Carl so I could sleep at night, not so he could sleep easier in prison. That's the difference between healing and being a doormat.